Hey everyone, welcome to the Fargo 3D printing show today. With us we have Eric Faldy, Jake Clark, John Schneider, and our guest today, Brian Glur from NDSU Architecture Department.
Sure.
All right.
We'll go with that.
So we're going to cover a couple different things. We're going to talk about what Brian does. Then we're going to get into MakerBot EU. They just got bought out last couple weeks ago. Yeah, March 3rd. They got one of the distributors or resellers over there got bought out. Then we're going to talk about a new CJP machine we got in today, and then we'll just kind of go from there. So, Brian, thanks for coming today. What do you do in the architecture department? Like, so what's who are you and why are you important? Is the one I gave Ben Bernard.
All right, that's a good question. First off, thanks for having me. As you said, my name is Brian Glur. My official title at NDSU is a graduate research assistant. Oh. So basically, they do kind of like a tuition waiver. So they pay my tuition and I get a stipend, and then I do research and repairs and stuff on the bots.
Oh, nice.
So,
how long have you been doing that then?
3 years? He says 3 years.
It's just
so basically, kind of.
It's all a blur.
What happened initially was I was a second year.
Shut up! I know exactly what you're thinking.
Just such a blur with Glur.
Oh, see, it's funny because that was my nickname in high school.
Really?
When I ran track.
Oh,
yeah. Okay.
There you go.
Bad joke, but
got Jake laughing. But
it doesn't take much.
That's true.
He loves puns.
I do. It's a punny
we had a
we had a good punny day.
Lunchtime
at
was jokes,
Poncheros.
bad jokes.
So 3 years is a long time. So like, talk about what you did those 3 years. That's a lot.
Well, initially, kind of what happened was the backstory. I think 2 years before that, or maybe a year before that, Dusty Austin. Yeah, I'm gonna just keep fact checking with him because
we got his agent here with us today.
I like the sound of that.
His handler.
Yes, his handler.
All right.
See the collar mark?
But anyway, before Ben brought me on board, I think it was like a year or two before that. The department had an interest in 3D printing, and initially it was kind of deemed too expensive and it would be too much work, and students wouldn't be able to. It wouldn't be quite as efficient as what we were doing, as far as like laser cutting went. It was easier to build models that way and cheaper for us and less work to run. And then I think it was my second year. I took an interest in replica prop making. You guys have seen my stuff. You'll probably post a picture of something across my face right now.
Yep.
Yeah. So
I'll make it happen.
Initially, I got into that, and I was making things out of wood because we didn't have 3D printers at the time. So I made casts and molds and all kinds of crazy stuff. And I had it setting at my desk, and Ben came in, and I had shown interest in wanting to be a laser cutter supervisor. So it was kind of obvious to him that I wanted to get into technology. And he's like, "Hey, we're getting 3D printers." And basically, what happened was we got 2 Rep 2s. And Ben basically told me to play with them, break them, and learn how to fix them. So we got him, and he's like, go crazy. So that's kind of how I got started in it. So, and then we're up to 6 or 7, yeah.
Somewhere in there, 6 or 7 machines.
Yeah. So it was a good start. It was fun. I learned a lot.
So have you
hurt
used
myself a lot? Hurt the bots a lot. I've got scars everywhere.
I think I stabbed myself last week. You can't see it anymore, but I stabbed myself last week with the putty knife. I wasn't wearing gloves and I wasn't thinking. I didn't lose my finger, but...
Do you remember the original build plates for the Rep 2s that had the little MakerBot incisions in them?
And then they were like warped?
Yeah, and you can see a little scar right there. See that?
Oh, you see it.
Yeah, so I was trying to pop it off, and it slipped, and like the tip of the blade went this far into my hand.
Oh.
And like I could, when you pull it out, you could like it.
Oh.
So that's
well. There's like a whole, what is it? Or is it like a Reddit feed, or if you just like, you have to have the stomach for some of these, but if you just Google like 3D printing accidents, there is surprisingly a handful.
Yeah.
I used to do BioLife, and when you go in there, if you have Band-Aids, they ask to check your wounds. So like there was one point when I slipped a couple times in one day and like cut off all my knuckles. So I went in there with Band-Aids on all my knuckles, and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna have a psych evaluation." Like they thought I was like punching things.
Oh, sure.
So they were like, "Hey, what happened?" And I was like, "Hey, this is gonna sound really weird, but have you heard of 3D printing?"
Yeah, well, yeah. If anything deserves a psych evaluation, it's working with those.
I think
things.
everyone's taken a couple jabs.
Yeah, I think you've cut your finger a couple
I've
times.
seen. And again, it all
It's
comes
always the thumbs.
Well, and it comes down
because you're holding
yeah.
it.
Well, and it comes down to not wearing the
Yeah.
proper protective equipment.
Even the gloves, like it depends on what you're wearing, but you might still get it.
Yeah.
I think some of us use welding gloves. I use rugged wear gloves.
I use whatever is near the printer if there is something.
Well, it's just something. You got to wear something. Otherwise, you will. There's a couple times where I remember somebody cut their finger really, really deep, and it's just like, okay.
Yeah.
That's
might require a hospital visit.
Luckily, it didn't. But so how have you used 3D printing in your projects as far as at NDSU? Like, what's an example?
A good example is in the early design process, we do like massing, which is essentially like if you look at a building and you take its rough shape as maybe just like boxes.
Okay.
So you'd make a little site model, like either laser cut, or some people have been 3D printing like context models that are this big and they've got all the winding terrain on it. It looks really cool, and then they put a little building on it to kind of see what it looked like. That's probably the base of what we do. We use it as kind of a conceptual thing. So if you've got a bunch of little ideas and you have a model of your site, you can print off a bunch of little models really quickly and just swap them in and out, and you can hold it up and look at it and kind of see what you want to do with it. So that's kind of what we've been doing initially in thesis. For final models, I don't know if you've ever tried to build a wood model by hand. No? Okay.
No.
I've seen some of those models, and I don't even want to try.
Well,
like it. Yeah, no.
When you, like, a lot of forms that people do for thesis are pretty crazy, and they have, like, big sweeping motions or walls that have all kinds of crazy curves in it. That's a huge pain to do by hand, and they want you to show it, so people would sit there for hours and just get angry, and it wouldn't work out. So now we have the technology to just 3D print that little thing. So instead of having to go in and, like, carve or go down to the wood shop and shape it on a lathe or whatever, you can do it with the machines. So we've been doing a lot of mix of wood models and then 3D printed elements to it. So
Okay.
it's been awesome. It's been a good tool for us.
It's awesome. Well, I want you to share one of my favorite Brian Glur stories and Ben Bernard stories is the softball.
The softball.
Explain, because we've talked about it a couple times.
I think we touched on it when he was here the first time, but I think it's better coming from you.
Yes. Okay. So explain before we go any further. Let's explain the softball. Then we'll move on.
Okay. So I'm an avid softball player. I've been playing softball for probably 5 or 6 years. So naturally, Ben brought up durability testing. So the first thing that came to mind for me was print balls. Okay, that's okay. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
All right, that sounds good.
Well,
We'll call them spheres.
today.
Spheres. Yeah, they're never going to want me back on this again.
Sporting equipment.
Sporting equipment. So I think we did. I probably printed off like 6 different infill settings, and
Sorry,
they can't get past it.
No,
we are like 110 years old.
I just look over and Ben's laughing. I'm like, all right, I can't. Anyway, continue.
Excuse me. What were we talking about?
Infill.
Yeah, okay, infill city, yeah. So I think I did 10, 20, 30, 50, and 100, and I had one of my, before one of our games, we went out on the diamond, and one of my friends pitched the ball to me, and I hit them all, and they all exploded except for the last one, which cracked the bat. And I did like a half swing. I didn't want to, like, holding it, you can just feel how dense that is.
This was aluminum, right?
Aluminum bat.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I took I kind of did like a check swing at it because I didn't really want to full on hit it because the bat probably would have just snapped in half, but it kind of hurt.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah, I mean that. I bet that you had that vibration going all the way up your arms.
Yep.
Like just, yeah. Not fun.
And the best part about it
Bunny
too,
cartoon.
pretty much, it floats in water too. A completely solid sphere. If you drop it in water, it floats.
I thought PLA was more dense than that.
It's a little bit porous though, isn't it?
Because I forget what I was looking into this. I was comparing the density of PLA and ABS and high impact polystyrene. High impact polystyrene is the least dense out of those three, but PLA is the most dense. But just kind of neat that it still floats.
I don't know. I didn't take a good physics class, so
Me neither.
Can't help you on that.
We dropped it in water and it floated, so that's why I know.
well, it sinks, David Letterman. Okay, so that kind of covers NDSU. Let's move into, I don't know, there's no good transition. So I'm just going to jump into this. So, MakerBot Europe just kind of hit the market here. I don't know, a couple weeks ago. MakerBot actually, I think they actually bought, or Stratasys, I guess, bought a was it a reseller?
So what ended up happening? MakerBot acquired their Germany-based partner. I believe this is pronounced Hafner's Bureau, who was run by Hafner himself. So Hafner, definitely very German. But what they're doing now, MakerBot's been an American company. I mean, they've been very focused on North America. They're based in New York City, so of course that's where they're going to start. But now they're working on penetrating the European market. European market already has quite a few 3D printers. One of the biggest 3D printer companies there is Ultimaker. They are based in the Netherlands, and quite frankly, they're pretty big. I mean, they're starting to make a presence here in the United States. They just opened a base of operations a few months ago in the U.S. and now MakerBot it's almost like switching. MakerBot now is trying to have a major presence in Europe, and this is a big part of it. So there was this interview on 3dprint.com with the general manager, and this is Hafner. This is
Alexander or Alex.
Yeah.
And I mean, he makes some really, really interesting stuff. I mean, I don't want to say he alludes to things, but just some of the wording that he has. If this is word for word, which I'm going to assume here that this is word for word with his answers. But I mean, there's some things down that we'll kind of talk about in the smart extruders and material wise, but kind of where I don't know if are they in Berlin? I think they're in Berlin. So that's kind of where this blue banana is kind of what they refer to it. Blue European banana, where most of the industries and most of the people residing who invent and design things. So,
and the reason it's called the blue banana is if you look and visualize this, if you look at Europe and you sort of draw an overlay over the top of Europe,
it's like
forms
England,
that shape.
Germany down to Italy. Or not quite Italy. It's
it
Italy.
hits the northern part of Italy. So I
think it's Vienna.
That's where a lot of design and manufacturing innovation ends up happening in Europe. And so they're talking about, okay, well, where are MakerBot's customers? A lot of them are within that blue banana area. I mean, that's where a lot of the design customers are. So
they call it the European backbone. I have a bunch of different names.
What else do they call it?
The blue meringue. I like that.
The blue meringue.
The hot banana. European megalopolis. Manchester Milan axis. Yeah.
Megalopolis.
Megalopolis.
I'm just gonna let that one go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Megalopolis.
Megatron.
I thought it was just blue European banana sounded funny.
So that's where he's talking about what countries in Europe provide MakerBot with the most business. But one of the things further up, they were just asking, okay, how has the last 6 months been for MakerBot Europe? And then also talking about the CEO transitions. So with the CEOs, you had Brie Pettis, who stepped down as CEO. Then Jenny Lawton stepped in as interim CEO. Now Jenny Lawton has accepted a different position within MakerBot. Within Stratasys. And now someone else from Stratasys, who is managing the Asian Stratasys market, is now coming in to manage MakerBot, but they're in transition there. So you have an interim CEO running things until the guy in Asia kind of ties up all the loose ends that he has going there.
So there'll be four CEOs in what? In a year and a half?
A year.
Yeah.
Yeah, within a 12-month period, it's going to have been 4 CEOs. So it's definitely a time of transition for MakerBot. But I mean, let's look at what happened in the last year too. You had the 5th gen launch, which, quite frankly, was very dissatisfying with how the printers turned out. The launched way before they were ready, and then MakerBot didn't know how to handle all the support calls that came in, so they had to restructure all their support. And now they're finally getting all their smart extruder stuff figured out. So their 5th gen machines are actually performing well now, a year after they should have been. They should have delayed the launch by a year, and they wouldn't have lost so much goodwill. But it's just been a transition year for them, going from a 5-person startup in 2009 to, I think they're probably around 700 employees now, 600 to 700. And it's 5
I don't
five
even
and a half
know
years.
how much MakerBot Europe added as far as the number wise.
Oh yeah, I don't know.
I'm assuming less than 100. Because if you're somebody like that, you know, I'm assuming less than 100.
Well, and a lot of the core people for MakerBot are still going to be in New York. You're not going to have, you don't need to duplicate in Europe everyone that you have in New York.
Not everybody, but I mean your support, you'd probably have to have something like that.
Yeah,
for language
support
too,
and then just general distribution too.
The website was in German and English. I actually found a bunch of weird, like, not artifacting, but like German would just be randomly peppered in the English sections, and like just misspellings and whatnot, like the I can't remember, guaranteed reaction time instead of their guaranteed reaction time.
Oh, I'm like,
no, that's what it says.
Gotcha.
It was under the maker care thing or whatever it's called.
So
which they're going to be offering.
One of the things that this article talks about, there's a lot of demand in Europe for innovation centers. So innovation centers are something that MakerBot has sort of pioneered here in the States. So an innovation center will be anywhere from, I think, 10 to 40 MakerBot systems, and then providing some of the infrastructure to administer the printers. Because that's one of the things that this article alludes to, is that the universities want to have 3D printers, but it's a matter of getting the staff trained on how to be using them, knowing how to handle repairs if something goes down on the printer, knowing how to handle that, knowing what it takes to keep everything operational. And with the innovation centers, I believe MakerBot tries to provide the training for that stuff.
Well, yeah, I think that at least in the States, I know that they're doing that a lot more, where they're like, hey, we'll come out and train, 3 people on this, where we train more. I mean, if you want to have a whole classroom, and I can sit there and explain about the machine, but they have like a cap of like 3, I think, and that's a big thing, is training them so that they know how to use them. I mean, Ryan, you're a prime example, where now if because do you graduate this year?
Yep.
So I'm sure Ben over there is scared that you're leaving, and you're gonna have to train somebody else. I mean, it's just the way things go. I mean, and
you gotta hand the reins to somebody.
Well, exactly.
And we're working on that right now.
Well, let me know who you're training in, because we'll have him on the podcast, or her. But where was I going with this? But you
getting people trained.
Yeah, but you need to have that, especially when you're handling 50 different printers or 40 different printers, and it's a combination. We've seen, I think now MakerBot's saying there's a smaller.
They have like a mini innovation center where it'll be a Z18 plus 2 5th gens plus 3 minis.
I think it's 4 5th gens and 2 minis.
Oh, maybe
and
that's
a digitizer. And
I don't
then
know why they have the digitizer. they must. I swear, it's like they must have a warehouse that's just like, well, no, like you've seen Indiana Jones, right? Yeah. They just have that warehouse for everything. You've got
digitizers,
just digitizers everywhere. Yeah, I mean, I have a feeling it's like that, where they made so many of these thinking they're going to be such a hot item, and they're
Plus,
just
where they're like, well, we put this much work into it, we better
do something with
it.
Push
it on people
Bing.
a little bit.
Well, they're gonna
shove. I had a Windows phone and it wouldn't let me switch Bing to Google. It's like,
well, why do you have a Windows phone to begin with?
I don't. I did. I made that mistake and I didn't go back.
The thing is, the Windows phone.
Wait a minute.
It's a great phone, but just like what they ran into with the Zune, they don't have enough market penetration for the developers to want to develop things for it. And the reason that people get phones, I mean, I've known people that make a decision between iPhone and Android because of one app. Like, one app is all it takes to sway them one way or the other. Oh. So
as long as they can make a phone call and text and email.
Android.
Yeah, says the one. I don't even know if they have Snapchat for a Windows phone. I don't think you'd survive.
They don't.
They have like an knockoff thing.
They do, because one of our friends
has a Windows phone.
Yeah, one of our friends has a Windows phone, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I can't get Snapchat because I have a Windows phone, and they have their own little thing, but it's not great."
No one cares except for Windows phone users.
And I'm just like, "Oh well." Yeah, because
they defend it like crazy though.
Are they like
they
10% of the market or 15%? I'm just
users.
guessing. I have no idea.
So one of the other things they talked about in this article was the new materials.
So what kind of new materials would you like? Because they're coming out with a metal
infused, or I don't. What
was the 3 again?
It's not so much
ceramic.
Is infused
wood,
the right one? Is the right word?
Infused.
Fused. I don't know. We'll just use
like
infused. We're gonna call it infused right now because we can't remember.
There you go. Actually, I think that's it. Yeah,
there was wood. Yeah. Was it bronze or was it?
No, it's wood, iron, and then there's sort of like a ceramic sandstone. Stone
I thought there were 4.
No, just the 3.
Huh. So what other materials would you guys like to see? Like coming from one that has a Rep 2, what kind of materials in your realm would you like to see other than the metals and woods and stone? What would you use? Let's say that. I'll put you on the spot.
What would we use? That's a good question.
Well, leather for your softball. Or whatever they call that.
Pleather.
Yeah, I don't know what softballs
man, that'd
are
be an
actually wrapped
interesting
in.
one.
That would be crazy.
I don't know.
Well, it'd be cool.
Fabric would be a cool thing, like
Well,
some kind of like a flexible.
Like,
Something
when you
almost
have,
feels
like,
felty or silky. Well, you know, but I mean, like there's that one material that we're working with that we can't name. That has sort of more of that silky texture to it.
It's a silky smooth. It is. I'll show you guys later. We have some here, I think.
It'd be like for us if we're working with materials like if you're doing a building design that has like concrete in it, it'd be kind of cool to have something that actually has like pieces of concrete in it. I mean, I don't know how realistic that would be to actually work, but
that sort of stone texture, you could have different, print your foundation of the building, have that be in stone, do some of your framework in that wood material, or what's the word for it? Like rafters. I mean, like you wouldn't be able to print them. You'd print them on their side, and then you'd have to assemble them later.
Yeah.
But then again, for something like that, it'd be just as easy to take a piece of wood and laser cut it.
Yeah.
It'd be faster, probably.
Yeah, well, it would be faster.
They should make like a Twizzler filament, like that kind of candy. I'm just saying, like they have a bunch of candy printers, but nothing like that. It's all like other weird stuff. Someone did make a chewing gum printer, but it looked disgusting. Like the printer looked fine, but the
we're going to
product...
talk about a pancake printer.
Yeah, that's going to come up in a minute. We have a bunch of other stuff to cover first. At least we got a new addition. New little family member.
I mean, yeah. So I don't know. I mean, it sounds like he's alluding to that. There's going to be more materials coming out.
Yeah, he made it sound like they were going to work on some stuff.
Well, and I think MakerBot would be silly not to. I mean, the new materials that they've announced, they're going to be coming at the end of 2015. I'm sure 2016 they're going into, and they realize that materials are moving past just ABS and PLA. Otherwise, you can't stand out anymore. So I'm hoping, and I think that they might do this eventually, but I'm hoping that they modify a smart extruder to be able to print in ABS filament. The Z18 has a heater in the chamber, like it has a chamber heater.
Well, I'm assuming that's the only reason why it has it.
Yeah, because when you're printing in PLA, the Z18 does not turn that heater on. But again, it's in there. And ABS, you need to have a heated chamber to be able to print with it. And
yeah, you don't need a heated bed per se. I like using a heated bed.
Well, I think a heated bed is better, but I mean, you can do it without a heated bed. The chamber needs to be that warm.
Well, I think I hope that's one thing that they come up with for the Z18 is an ABS. Well, why don't we just throw ABS in one?
All right, go for it.
Why not? You got Simplify 3D. We can crank that heater on.
Oh yeah, we can actually. That is one of the nice things. The Z18, you can't turn the chamber. Well, you could. You'd have to create a custom profile.
Well,
to be
you
able
did
to
in
do
Simplify 3D.
But yeah, we turned it on in Simplify 3D. Turned the chamber heater on. It did not work very well for PLA because PLA already. Well, the Smart Extruder already has issues with, or had issue. Well, still
had.
It has the occasional issue with clogging up if it overheats. Like if you have that thermal heat creep, and when you have the heated chamber, it creates that much more heat around the Smart Extruder, so it's not able to cool it down as quickly. So then you run into an increased risk for
jams.
For jams
and heat creep.
Yeah, and PLA it needs to cool down quickly. It does. There's no way around it. If you have a heated chamber, you end up losing definition in your print because the previous layer isn't hardened. By the time it adds the next layer to it, it starts getting all mushy, and it's a mess.
One of our bots is doing that right now. It's fun. You take a print off the build plate and you can like bend it.
Really?
Yeah.
I
sent you pictures of it.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, I did.
Does it cool down eventually and harden and get stiff?
Yeah, it does.
I think it's probably a bad thermocouple. Or thermistor.
Probably. You should. You should grab our. Well, when I come over tomorrow, I'll grab that laser gun and we'll shoot the temperature on it and see.
Because we've had a couple people ask us about that. And I think what's happening is the heater. It says it'll be at 230 degrees Celsius, but I think it's actually at like 280 degrees Celsius, which creates that much more heat around it, which means that the print doesn't cool down enough. Either that or it's a bad fan for the a bad blower fan for the duct.
Yeah, it might be both too.
I think it's going to be a thermistor problem.
Yeah,
because I mean, like there's one machine that we saw that they had the preheat set at for a Rep 2X. the nozzles were set at 280C and the bed was set at 130, which is way over the recommended temperatures. Because like even 260, you can actually
they were
melt.
printing at 280.
Yeah, I don't know what they were doing, but they had it at 280. I'm like, really? You had no, just no, because you can actually melt they had a plastic carriage, and you can actually melt that, and it just bends. I mean, I think even in theirs you can see that it kind of it dips a little bit if you look on the side. But last thing we're going to cover with this, so 3dprint.com said, Stratasys owns a lot of patents. What do you think MakerBot is going to do with those, or if anything? And Hafner had some really interesting comments in that. He's saying that they're going to stand behind the FDM, but that there will come a time when their software and ecosystem will also be able to print with other 3D printing technology. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I said kind of when it makes sense, like when it's for like a desktop, because it's just we've been working. Our next thing that we're going to talk about is a CJP printer.
Yep.
It makes a nice print, but there's a lot more work involved with cleaning up,
post-processing,
and so that's as soon as that's more streamlined or just easier to do, or like in a house, because I wouldn't want that in my house. Unless I had like the basement of the garage, like without people sleeping there.
Powder everywhere.
Yeah, you can get that in your lungs. It's pretty dangerous, I guess, if you breathe it in. So,
well, and I think what you might see is not so much MakerBot. You have a new type of desktop printer, but you're just able to apply the MakerBot desktop software to Stratasys machines. I haven't used a Stratasys machine before, so I don't know what the software interface is like. I'm assuming that it's less intuitive than MakerBot desktop is, because you're going to have a lot of people now that they start working at a company and they start out using a desktop 3D printer like the MakerBot 5th Gen or the Rep 2, so they're familiar with that software interface. Then their company decides that they want to have more advanced 3D printing capabilities. If you're able to go from the same user interface from, say, the Replicator 5th Gen to now an Objet 3D printer that does the full color, flexible materials, now that person's going to be onboarded much more quickly.
Yeah,
I think that's probably what's going to happen. I don't think you're going to see a sub $10,000 PolyJet machine anytime soon.
Well, no, I mean PolyJet, they're a specific technology for a specific need, in my opinion. And the post processing just sucks. Let's not beat around the bush.
Well, it's kind of like CJP. It ends up being messy. It's
in the older machine like we have, yeah.
Well, yeah.
You don't need to deal with support, the structures, but then you still have a lot more.
Well, in PolyJet you have to jet it away.
Yeah, it ends up being a different monster when you clean it.
Yeah.
I guess just before we hop all the way into there, I was digging around on the MakerBot EU site, and they have some products that aren't available in the United States, such as they do nozzle replacements. So I know that I don't think MakerBot America does that.
No,
I don't think so.
I don't think they do. I'll check.
I looked, but I didn't see anything. They also do. They also do the replacement tape, which I think America has discontinued. So those are both
really
things
the build plate tape.
No, I think they do. They might actually no. They do it for the Rep 2X, the heated one.
Yeah,
but no, never mind. I don't remember.
Like the Kapton tape or the Blue Painters tape?
Kapton.
Yeah, because they don't have the Kapton tape on MakerBot's website. That I know of.
They do have that in the European one.
Well, and to be technical, it's not Kapton. Or it's PET tape.
I didn't know what word it was, so I just tried to make it sound like what he said.
Jake says Kapton all the time.
I don't know.
What he means PET.
Yeah, they have the ceramic tape.
Pet tape.
They have replacement nozzles. They're $65 approximately for two, which is
holy smokes.
We blow them out of the water with that.
Yeah, a little bit.
They have the Z18.
Made from, like the tears of small children.
Yeah. Isn't that how they make things in Europe?
They also have the. They also have the
forged in the fires of Mount Doom.
Sad puppy pictures. Like
the tears of mermaids.
Last one was they have the cleaning brush for the Z18. They have a replacement for that. So they have some more options for kind of I won't say customizing, but just replacement.
More spare parts kind of thing.
I did see that the nozzle. What the hell is it? The filament guide tube. I was like, I couldn't think of the name. It's $26, which I don't know.
Wow.
I know. I was just like, man,
it's just like
go to
PET. Not PET.
Teflon. Master car and get it done with.
Go to the. I'd say just go to the.
Go to Menards.
Go to the pet store and get
some crazy idiot. Don't wreck yours, and it's free.
I don't know how you messed that up.
Revolutionary thoughts right here with Jake Clark.
Wow, that'll be a sub podcast of my own.
That's all I have on
Yeah, it's just what we
MakerBot
need.
EU.
Another podcast.
But
We should start talking about our new edition.
So new edition, we got in. We bought this one. We got it in.
Well, new to us.
New to us. It's an older machine. It's about
like
a 2000,
12 years old.
Yeah, and
2002, maybe.
Jake, that's almost as old as you are.
I tell you, some days
It probably doesn't get carded in the bar.
Oh wow, wow! Just yeah. Well,
Hey, I missed last week's podcast. I need to make up. I need to make up for it.
when Joe was here, he didn't heckle me as bad as
No, it
but-
was a lot more respectful than I thought it was going to be. I thought he was going to buoy you up the whole time. It's like, yeah, it was good though.
But so anyway, we got this new CJP machine, so color jet printing, which it's monochrome, which I guess is a color. So whatever,
One color.
it's one color. But
This is actually our first print.
yeah, so it's a Z Corp 310 Plus is what we have, and I don't know too many specs on it as far as the resolution, but I know we have an 8x10x8 build volume. It's a powder machine, it. Pros and cons with 3D printing. This one, the pro is we can do really complex things like this in all one print, and it comes out beautifully in my opinion, because of all the intricacies where FDM loses some of that. The downside is it is powder, where this part is, if we had to, first off we had to drip seal it with like a super glue kind of binder.
Really toxic.
Yeah, and the second thing is this is actually pretty brittle, even with the drip on there. If we drop this, or if we try and use this as a functional part, it'll actually break and just disintegrate. Really, it
Still feels like there's a bit of a film on it too. Like you pick it up and you have to like wipe your hand. It's like if you touched your hand in a sandbox or something.
Yeah, and it's kind of like when it comes out of the printer, it's kind of like if you took a bunch of Smarties, crushed them up, and then just compacted them, and if you dropped it again, it would break into a couple pieces. Where even with this, with the binder on it, it's not solid like this. Where like if
that'd probably make some of it come off.
It'd probably break. But it has its uses. With this kind of technology in the monochrome, like your architectural side of things, you can actually we have a house actually printed out in the machine that I haven't had time to get out yet. But you can take it and you can look at it and visually see what's gonna be in this floor. And as far as FDM goes, in comparison, CJP just is a little bit nicer for those conceptual models that aren't functional. So the color machines are really nice. That's where the CJP gets really interesting, is in the full color, where this I could have, we could put whatever color we want to it. That's where it gets fun.
We have the tie-dye bearing.
That's where it gets
somewhere.
fun.
Yeah.
I mean,
or that's where people do the miniature figurines, like people with nice 3D scanners. I see them on Instagram.
I don't think they're CJP.
Is it not CJP?
I think
Yeah,
those
they
are
are. No, they are.
SLA?
No, CJP.
Oh, I'm thinking the really micro ones. Sorry.
Oh,
no,
no.
you're thinking like were ones that you could like for tabletop gaming.
Yeah,
and
that's
that
the
kind of
ones
stuff.
I'm
That's SLA, but I think you're talking about like the little mixy
Yeah,
moves,
yeah.
that kind of
some
stuff.
guys out of California. I mean, there's more than one group that does it, but the one that I know of,
I think Gentle Giant does something. I
cool.
don't know if it's GJP though.
they do co-create. They're out of, I think it's San Fran or LA. I don't remember, but they do like miniatures of like Stan Lee they had, and like the hip hop stormtrooper. So cool stuff.
Yeah, or like the after the Super Bowl, there was the whole left shark controversy.
There's still an ongoing lawsuit with that, I think.
Yeah. So what happened is they created a 3D full color model of the left shark. So from the whole Katy Perry halftime show, the shark was being kind of derpy. And so it just became this huge thing online where, okay, just left shark, whatever. And so someone created the 3D model, uploaded it to Shapeways, and you were able to print a full color version of it. And then Katy Perry's lawyers made them take it down, and then there's this whole battle over, okay, what can you actually copyright? Can you copyright a shark?
Yeah.
And it just it became a. I still don't know how that got resolved, or if it got resolved, or if people have just quit caring.
I think it's back up, but I'm not exactly. I read about it because it was back in the news. I don't remember exactly what the second story was, but
well, you're kind of being a left shark today, John.
I'm guessing people have just quit caring. Oh, in general, I mean, just about everything, but no, but about the left, it's online when something happened.
But yeah, it's just
like
it's a
three
viral
weeks
thing
three
for,
weeks
like,
later.
the more you try to douse the fire, the more it
yes,
up.
the Streisand effect.
yeah. Yep. Or Scientology, like they want that video down. There's 1,000 more coming back up.
Yep. Yeah, it's like once something touches the internet, it's there forever.
Somewhere.
Yep, somewhere.
So, what do we...
One thing that I thought was funny is that there's quite a lengthy cleanup process, like with these, and the thing, it looks like a sandblast chamber, like if you do sandblasting,
yeah.
but it's kind of the opposite where you like clean stuff off. So there's powder all over this. If you go on our Instagram, there's a picture or a video with Eric Carmen's "All by Myself," because when you're dripping,
crying,
when you're dripping the stuff on it, it looks like tears, and I thought it was hilarious. So check that out if you want. But the name of the thing is the depowderizer or something like that. Like that's the official name for that chamber. It's called the depowderizer.
Well, I mean,
it's descriptive.
It's funny, but it sounds so untechnical.
Well, because that's what you're doing. You're because in this, the support structure is the excess powder. So it's not like FDM where you actually have to have a structure support something. It's encased in powder, and I think we'll try and get a video up of me doing an archaeological dig of this thing.
I have plenty of video
which
of that.
we need to do a parody of sometime.
Yeah.
But you know, you take this out and you set it in this thing, and you're just a little bit of air just to get all the, because in all these nooks and crannies there's just loose powder. And actually this is a little bit hollow inside too. It does a little bit of a pattern, but most of that is actually hollow.
It's kind of heavy.
Well, not hollow on the inside. It's not hollow. It's loose.
Yeah.
So it's solid all the way through. It's just
like
it
that.
hasn't been sprayed with binder on the inside.
Yeah. So it's just loose powder.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, anything
will be over for dinner.
Anything else on the CJP stuff?
I think that was all I had. I thought depowderizing was a funny term. So
yeah,
I guess they were bought by 3D Systems in early 2012. That was interesting.
That's going to be your whatchamacallit?
The
Mr.
X60.
Cryface? I don't know what you're talking about.
The ProJet X60 series.
CubeJet.
Yeah, so that's the same technology that the CubeJet is going to be based off of. So the CubeJet, if you aren't aware of what the CubeJet is, it's a $5,000 desktop 3D printer that 3D Systems claims they're coming out with this summer. They announced it at CES, not this last year, but 2 years ago. And so they're saying that the CubeJet's going to come out this summer. Full color CJP machine for $5,000 is pretty. It's pretty.
10 grand for full color, or is that
$5,000 for full color? You still need to get a depowderizer, and that's an additional $3,000. But for an $8,000 setup, being able to print full color, and I think it's the same build volume as the 310 Plus, if not a little bigger.
It's no bigger than a washing machine. So I mean, at least the 310 isn't any bigger than a washing machine.
Well, and the CubeJet is actually smaller than that. I mean, it doesn't have a built-in stand, so it truly is desktop. But
it's the size of a grill.
Yeah.
Like without the stand.
Yes.
Without the stand, if you just the body.
Or if you take a mini fridge and flip it on its side.
Yeah, there you go.
It's about that size. But it's going to be pretty cool to see what people are going to be able to do with that technology. Then was there anything else?
I had a couple stories that went really viral. Well, not super viral, but like stories that I pay attention to, like people on Facebook that aren't like so tech savvy, and they're talking about the PancakeBot.
Oh, the PancakeBot.
Yeah, so I mean, it's kind of 3D printing, but it prints
a CNC machine.
It prints pancakes using like a vacuum and pressure to like control the batter, and it has like a griddle that moves back and forth, and the way it works, I think that you have a drawing in your program, or I don't know how I didn't play with the software. I don't think you can, but you trace over the stuff, and then you do the infill. And then the first part's going to be darker when it cooks. That's the part that goes down first. And then this, however you trace it in, that's the order that it's going to be doing it. Mm-hmm. So then you've probably seen the videos on like Facebook or whatever, like somebody making Olaf or some other Disney characters. Hand. Yeah. So this is pretty much like that, but maybe a little sloppier,
automated.
But it's cool, and
that was fun.
I think it's going to retail about $300 eventually. I think they made. I wrote this down. They wanted $50,000 and they got 186 so far, and they still have like 25 days.
Oh, so
on their Kickstarter.
this was
it's a Kickstarter. It's a Kickstarter.
I was like, they wanted $50,000 for this technology?
No, it's a Kickstarter. I'm sorry.
Whoa.
No, retail will be about 300. I think right now you can get 2 for 300 if you do the Kickstarter. The guy started it a couple years ago doing Legos with it just for fun, and then it was like a laser cut prototype, and now he's trying to bring it to market.
I guess I don't eat pancakes.
I don't know. I like waffles, and I don't.
you like waffles?
I know it's like the same stuff, but it's just a thing for me. Like it needs to be crispy. I don't like pancakes.
I like pancakes. I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're good.
Have you guys ever made bacon pancakes?
No.
You know what I wanted?
I've had bacon waffles.
Have you had what is it? Bacon sushi?
I've heard about it. I think
So
we
just like
talked about
sushi
it.
wrapped in bacon.
No. So what you do is you take bacon and you lay it out. And then you take ground beef, seasoned ground beef. You mix that all up, and that's your whatever liner. I don't eat sushi.
So it's
Put
like
that-
okay. So the bacon is your seaweed.
Yep.
The ground beef is your rice.
Yep.
Sure.
And I don't know what else you put in
then you
there,
put a
but-
mozzarella stick in the middle. Then you roll it up. Then you cut it where the bacon's at, so you have like that thick piece. And then you go and you slow cook it in the grill.
It's a very American thing to do.
It's very
Right.
American.
And
Well,
then
there's
you
like-
should dip it in barbecue
There's
sauce.
on Simpsons.
right.
There's
There
like
you go. So like when you have the roll and you
Drizzled
have the
right
little-
over.
Yeah.
Oh.
butter your bacon, bacon your sausage.
What?
That was the Simpsons.
Oh.
My heart.
I was
hurts.
like, wait a minute. I was like, this is going completely wrong.
No, it was Simpsons. I just remember that because, like, bad for your heart sort of things.
But yeah, so we're gonna make that. But I think we've kind of
Last one. It was quick. The Iron Man 3D printed arm.
yeah.
Robert Downey Jr. met up with this kid that has been working with. I think the kid's name was Alex. I don't remember. It was in the
Sounds
video.
right.
But the guy that created Limitless. It's LIMB. It's for people with. They make. Prosthetics for amputees. His name is Albert Monero, and he teamed up with Robert Downey Jr. So I don't know how it worked out. It was through Microsoft Outlook or something. So
Yeah, Microsoft Outlook.
they helped
sponsored
sponsor it.
Yep. And the cool thing about this prosthetic is that it wasn't like the enabling the future ones where you flex your wrist and then it closes. This one actually had the electrodes connected to his forearm, and that controlled the opening and closing. I think he can twist his wrist, and it even had in the palm of his hand. It even had the light up
Yep.
part, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, Robert Downey Jr. showed up, and the kid, I think he was just kind of freaked out because of the cameras. He was just like, "That's Robert."
Yeah.
It was fun though.
Do
Like
you know who that is?
Yeah.
Iron Man.
No, he didn't even say that. He said,
Yeah, he did.
Oh, he did?
Yeah,
He said Iron Man. It's like, what's his name? Robert. He didn't call him Stark or whatever, but that was cool. He was presenting himself as Stark. It's like, yeah, I'm a bioengineering guy, and
Yeah.
I don't know, mine has a broken light. It was cool though. Like, really, probably made that kid's day. So that was cool.
Yeah.
And I think he can make those for about $600 rather than like $60,000 or whatever.
Yeah, it's something
So-
like
And
that.
especially since it's a kid, he's gonna go through an arm probably every year. I don't know what it is. Like kids go through.
Well, they
shoes
grow
all the time.
that fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and the arm looked like way too big too. I don't know if you've seen it, but like it's just like probably like 4 or 5 inches longer than the other arm.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he's gonna grow into it or what, but yeah, it got like 8 million views in just a few days, and like I saw it shared so many times. Like, well, we can talk about it. It's like people are talking about 3D printing now, so it's cool.
Yeah.
People love Iron Man. I'm excited for Age of Ultron, so I had to catch up on all the movies.
I don't know. I saw that Lego is coming out with a Jurassic Park video game, and
Okay.
that's all I got excited about for today.
It's the little things.
It is, and yeah.
But I think that takes
I can't
care
think of anything else.
Yeah, I think that takes care of pretty much all of it. So on behalf of Eric, Jake, our guest Brian, and myself, thanks again for watching and listening to the Fargo 3D Printing Show. If you haven't already, subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on our various social channels, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
See you later.
We have a studio audience.
Yeah.
Oh, live from Fargo. We don't have. I was gonna say lanyards, but that's not it.
Lavaliers.
There you go.
People just say love most of the time, but
Right.
We don't got lava.
lava.
Are you ready?
Yep.